It's your boy Guy Chow, first of his name, host of the What's Packin Sports Show. And today we're going to be talking about some surprising news coming out of the Green Bay camp yesterday ahead of the second round cuts for the rosters that have to be taken down to 85 today, and how I think it's going to affect the team, and why I say it's a bittersweet scenario, but ultimately it's a positive one. So yesterday it was reported on Twitter by various outlets that the Packers would be releasing Kamal Martin and trading Kadar Homan to the Houston Texans. Now, at the time when it was released, we didn't know the details of the trade, but now it's been confirmed that it is going to be a 7th round draft pick, which actually sucks because when you go back and look at Kadar Homan, his draft in 2019, he was actually taken in the 6th round. So you're actually like losing value on this guy, which sucks, which is the bitter part of it. But the sweet part is that you also brought in 2 new guys this offseason in Shamar and Eric Stokes. So it gives me some confidence that these young players are developing as the Packers would have hoped. So they feel like there are people who were contributing last year and they have an upgrade. So and the really good part about it is, or the really encouraging part about it is, like they're not even like holding on to Kadar Homan. They're just going to trade him because they feel like what we have is better, and he wouldn't even be good enough to be a backup at this point, which honestly is encouraging for the team, because we know that aside from Jair and Amos and Savage, that's a really strong group, but everybody else, the other 3 or 4 guys, leave a lot to be desired last year. So I think that's good news. That it's kind of fucked up to say good news, but good news for the Packers. Yeah, it sucks for Kadar, but I mean, maybe having a new change of scenery will do wonders for his career. Now, the other move was a lot more surprising. Just last year, the Packers drafted Kamal Martin out of Minnesota in the 5th round. And when you draft somebody in the 5th round, I don't think you're really expecting them to come in and contribute right away. Maybe on special teams, but not on the first team defense. And that's exactly what Kamal Martin did in training camp. This time last year, he was the talk of camp as far as like the rookie class and the new faces on defense. People were really excited to see what him and Christian Kirksey could do. At the time, we didn't know that Christian Kirksey wasn't really going to be the same player we thought he was. That's why he's out of here. Kamal Martin and Chris Barnes, however, stepped up in his absence when he got injured, and when Oren Burks being injured and Ty Summers being like off and on. Those 2 players, Oren Burks and Ty Summers, were brought in a couple years back to solidify the middle linebacker position, but they were never really good enough, which really, to me, when you break down this move, is very interesting, because it seems like players like Ty Summers and Oren Burks and even Josh Jackson got chance after chance after chance, whether it was their lack of performance or injury or whatever it was. They got chance after chance, and they're still on this roster. But a guy like Kamal Martin, who had a lot of splash plays in training camp and was able to earn a starting spot, got hurt, came back, and still was able to contribute, and still had a lot of good enough film, just from what I remember watching, that seemed like somebody that really could develop into year 2. And so when you juxtapose those other 3 guys that I mentioned, of Jackson and Summers and Burks, with a guy like Martin, it's like, what am I missing here? How is he any different from these guys? And somebody mentioned on Twitter that maybe it has something to do with things off the field, or not necessarily on the field physically, but in the classroom. And, that's a very touchy subject, so I'm not really going to spend too much time on that. It's just something that I saw, and it made me think like maybe it wasn't just about something on the field and his physical traits, because I thought he looked really good in spurts, and to be a rookie 5th rounder, I mean, it's like, what else could you really ask for him? I even saw a stat on Pro Football Focus that he was actually the 2nd highest graded off the ball rookie linebacker last year, according to Pro Football Focus, which means he graded higher than both Kenneth Murray and Patrick Queen, which were two of the hottest names in the draft in 2020 when the Packers, didn't select them and selected Jordan Love. And I know those were two of the players that a lot of Packers fans, myself included, wanted them to draft, specifically Patrick Queen. And I went to a Ravens preseason game 2 weeks ago, and I'm going to tell you, I think Patrick Queen is about to have a breakout season. Other than that, man, not a whole lot on the transaction front for the Packers, just these things. And I think they did release some other people, and of course, there's going to be a lot more stuff coming up in the next few days, in the next week. I want to break down the rest of that at a later time. But let me know what you guys think about these roster moves. Were you really surprised about the Kamar Martin thing? How surprised were you? What else do you think could have been a reason why he was cut when given his track record and given he's only been here a year? And that was the last thing I wanted to say. Like, this is a bittersweet thing for the Packers. It's bitter because you have two guys who you didn't necessarily invest a lot in them, but you still drafted them, identified them as people who you thought you could develop. You had them in the system. They were contributing. They were actually getting time on the field. Not a whole lot, but they were getting time on the field. And then now, a year later for one guy and 2 years later for the other guy, they're not on the team anymore, which is kind of it's a bitter pill to swallow. And it sucks like that time and capital and resources could have been put into some other players possibly. But the sweet part is, like I said, it gives me hope and optimism for this secondary to be much improved this year. Even though it was already a bright spot last year, there were still a lot of places to improve outside of those top three guys. All right, man, that's it for today's show. As always, go Pack, go. And remember, until next time, the Bears still suck.